We spend so much time really digging into the complexities of our lives, work, romance, family stuff.
Yeah.
But friendship,
Mm.
it often feels like we just default to these easy assumptions.
Yeah, we treat it as fundamentally safe.
Exactly. Like, it's the one place we don't have to put up armor. It's meant to be that harbor, right? That soft place to land, uncomplicated.
And that very assumption, that shared idea that friendship equals safety and comfort, well, that's maybe the biggest delusion we need to look at today.
Okay.
If we shift our perspective, maybe look at friendship not just socially, but perceptually, using, say, the ideas from Gestalt psychology, something really provocative emerges. That friendship, precisely because it feels so safe, is actually potentially the most dangerous terrain your consciousness ever navigates.
Dangerous, wow. Okay, most people hear dangerous and friendship together and they think, I don't know, betrayal, falling out, big drama.
Right, the social stuff.
But you're saying it's something else, something more fundamental. What kind of danger are we actually talking about here if it's not social fallout?
It's perceptual danger. The threat isn't that they'll leave you or, let you down in some obvious way. The real danger, the edge, is that they truly see you. They witness your patterns, your being, in a way that strangers or even just casual acquaintances, they're just not allowed to. And that kind of real seeing, it's never neutral, it's not passive.
How so?
Well, because a friend is so close, their very observation forces this immediate and often not very gentle rearrangement of your whole internal world. Their presence can just collapse the stable background you've tried so hard to keep in place in your mind.
That's fascinating. So the threat isn't out there, it's internal. The relationship itself creates this instability inside. Okay, let's definitely unpack this. What does it mean for a relationship to be dangerous perceptually, not socially? Maybe we should start with how we try to control that instability.
Exactly. We start by assigning roles. I mean, think about it, right? We constantly define our friends. You've got the listener.
Oh, yeah. The cheerleader. The funny one.
The one who never judges. We absolutely do it.
We file them away, basically, so we know what to expect, maybe what they expect from us. It feels like it's about creating predictability.
And that predictability, well, it feels essential because, perceptually speaking, our consciousness just can't hold the entirety of every single person we know in sharp focus all the time.
Right, that would be exhausting.
Utterly terrifying. And exhausting. Imagine if your friends were fully unpredictable, deep, complex, 24/7. So what's the mental shortcut we take?
We simplify.
We simplify, we flatten them out, and we assign them to the background.
The background.
In Gestalt terms, they become the ground. They're the reliable scenery, the context against which our drama, the figure, gets to play out. We sort of turn them into context, not these active, unpredictable forces. It's really an act of cognitive self-protection.
So we treat them like reliable emotional wallpaper, just because we can't handle the sheer depth of their actual existence moment to moment.
Precisely. We need that backdrop to feel secure. But here's the twist from the Gestalt view. The relationship isn't some static social contract. It's a continuously breathing perceptual field.
A field,
And in this field, there's actually no such thing as a passive background. The ground is always alive. It's weighted, weighted with unspoken needs, maybe silent judgments, quiet disappointments, all those unresolved tensions. It's just accumulating potential energy, really, waiting for the right moment to rise up.
That makes that photograph analogy so vivid. Where you stare at a picture for years, maybe there's a big tree in the middle. That's the figure, your focus.
Right.
And the mountains way behind it. They're just decoration, context. Then one day, I don't know, you shift your gaze or the light hits it differently. And you suddenly realize the mountains, the friend, the background were always this massive, imposing structure.
Yeah.
We just use them as context because we couldn't handle their immensity.
Yeah.
Or maybe their perspective on us.
It's avoidance, really. Avoidance through categorization. We sidestep their complexity so we don't have to face the complexity they inevitably reflect back onto us.
Okay, so if the background isn't passive, it's alive.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that moment when it does rise. That moment of necessary rupture, that sudden, really uncomfortable accuracy.
Yes.
Like you're having a perfectly normal, predictable chat, everything feels fine, and then your friend just casually drops a bomb.
Yeah.
Something like, you always do this when you're scared, you make a joke and change the subject.
Oof. Yeah.
And the whole room just tilts, right?
Yeah.
Because they are spot on, and you absolutely did not ask them, you didn't give them permission to look that closely at the wiring under your hood, especially around your fears.
That experience, that's the textbook definition of a figure emerging from the ground. The field between you, the one you thought was safe and kind of low stakes,
Right.
it was actually driven by tension all along, by what's incomplete. It's what we call an unfinished gestalt, and it inherently pushes towards completion. Your internal avoidance pattern, the thing you do, was suddenly thrown into sharp relief by the presence of this unflinching witness, someone who refused to just accept the role you were playing.
That kind of observation feels almost intrusive, doesn't it? Because we want our friends to watch the performance, maybe applaud, but not analyze the script or point out the stage direction.
Exactly. And we can link this directly to the idea of inattentional blindness. You know those famous psych experiments? People are told to focus so hard on counting basketball passes.
Oh yeah, the gorilla one.
Right. They totally miss a person in a gorilla suit walking right through the middle of the game. In friendship, we do something similar. We're so hyper-focused on maintaining the safe vibe, the harmony, the predictability, the comfort, that we become completely blind to the gorilla in the room.
Which could be.
What?
Like the unspoken resentment bubbling under the surface.
Or quiet disappointment.
Yeah.
Or that tiny flinch you see when you mention a certain topic.
Or maybe that slight hesitation before they say, "Oh, I'm so happy for you."
Exactly. We are actively, if unconsciously, filtering out these truths because they directly contradict our carefully constructed label of the relationship as safe and supportive.
So we prioritize keeping the field looking safe over acknowledging what's actually in the field. We slap a low-risk label on it, and our brain just filters out anything that challenges that. But what happens when we do that, when we push the figure back down?
Well, here's the critical point. Refusing to let that figure rise, actively pushing that uncomfortable truth, that observation back into the ground, it doesn't preserve safety.
It creates pressure.
Massive pressure. Because the perceptual field, it doesn't actually care about your comfort or maintaining social harmony. It cares about wholeness. It cares about completion.
So the tension doesn't just disappear because you ignore it.
Not at all. It crystallizes. It becomes this silent weight, making the field feel frozen, rigid. And when that field is already packed with suppressed, unfinished gestalts, the next inevitable rupture, the next figure that forces its way through, it's always louder, always more destructive, and way more exhausting than if you just dealt with the small truth when it first tried to emerge.
Wow. Okay, so we started off thinking safety was the goal, and now it sounds like seeking that very safety is what makes the whole thing stagnant and prone to these painful explosions. That really reframes the meaning of that uncomfortable truth a friend might reveal. Let's dig into that moment of forced reorganization a bit more.
Yeah, let's maybe get a little philosophical here and link it to existential ideas. Friendship, in this light, functions as a kind of existential mirror.
A mirror.
By their mere presence, just by observing us, friends force us to confront the gap. The gap between who we pretend to be, that curated self we put out there, and who we actually are, the messy, unfinished, maybe scared self underneath.
Like Sartre said, hell is other people.
Exactly. And he wasn't really talking about strangers causing traffic jams. He was talking about the intimacy of being truly seen and how that exposure rips away the performance we rely on. It forces this uncomfortable self-confrontation.
It's the moment the mask slips or is pulled off. Can you define that moment of sudden realization again, strictly in Gestalt terms?
That moment, yeah. The sudden awareness that just collapses your whole narrative, that's called insight as a specific Gestalt phenomenon. And importantly, it is not gentle.
Not gentle.
No, it's the sudden, holistic reorganization of the perceptual field. When your friend points out the deflection hiding under your laughter, it just collapses. And consciousness is forced immediately to restructure itself around the pattern that was hidden before, the fear, the avoidance, the lie, whatever it is. Insight feels terrifying because it rearranges your inner architecture without asking your conscious permission. It simply corrects the structure towards completion, towards wholeness.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, linking back to the start. If safety, true safety in this context, means the absence of emergence, like a frozen, managed field where nothing unexpected happens, the rules never change.
Right, a predictable landscape.
Then real living friendship must be inherently destabilizing. It actually demands that we allow our friend to suddenly stop being just the supportive one and maybe become the challenger or the one who points out my blind spots or even the one who disappoints me sometimes.
Yes. It requires a constant conscious surrender of our need to control the field itself.
That's a big ask.
It is. And that surrender is crucial because of another Gestalt principle, isomorphism.
Isomorphism. Okay, what's that?
It's a really key high-level connection here. Isomorphism basically suggests that the structure of external reality and the structure of your internal reality tend to mirror each other. Put simply, the way you organize your perception of your friend, it directly mirrors the way you organize the perception of yourself.
Whoa, wait. So you're saying how I manage my friends, how I categorize them, what I allow them to be, for me, that's actually a blueprint for how I manage my own deepest, scariest internal stuff.
Precisely. The part of you that insists, no, friendship must have no friction, no surprises, and must always be supportive, that's the exact same part of you that fragments your own self-image. The part that pushes the uncomfortable, messy, maybe ugly parts of yourself into your internal background, into your psychological ground.
So I fear their complexity, because facing it means I'd have to face my own hidden stuff.
You fear their complexity because confronting it would mean confronting your own suppressed complexity, yes. The patterns are isomorphic, they have the same shape.
Okay, so trying desperately to make the friendship safe actually leads to what you called death by frozen fields.
Exactly.
The relationship just loses all its life, its energy, its meaning, because we refuse to let anything real, anything emergent rise up between us. We basically turn a living structure into a museum exhibit. Friendship, circa 2024. Please do not touch or disturb the established pattern.
We prioritize our illusion of comfort over the potential for completion. And that, paradoxically, is where the real danger lies. The danger of stagnation, of living death in the relationship.
Right. Okay, let's try to summarize this deep dive then. Friendship, maybe it's not the safe refuge or the calm harbor we imagine. It's more like a living, breathing structure. A kind of ritual of mutual revelation that actually requires us to be seen, truly seen.
Yes.
So we have to stop trying to make it safe, because that just fossilizes it, and maybe start trying to make it honest. By paying attention to what emerges, what comes up in that perceptual field between us.
I think we need to reframe the whole concept. Friendship isn't just a passive mirror, reflecting your curated self back at you. It's more like a powerful lens.
A lens, how?
It refracts things, it rearranges them, and this is key, it helps complete you. The moment we can stop chasing the illusion of safety and actually embrace emergence, embrace what wants to come forward, that's when the relationship becomes, well, maybe even sacred. Defined not by the absence of risk, but by the vibrant presence of rupture, repair, and life.
Embracing emergence. That feels like the core takeaway.
And it raises one last, maybe quite important question. Something lingering right at the edge of this field we've been exploring.
Okay.
What if the emergence is reciprocal? What if, in that really terrifying moment when you are revealed, when your pattern is seen, what if your perception of them in that moment, your heightened attention, maybe your honest response is simultaneously completing gestalts, finishing patterns in the patterns they didn't even know were open or incomplete?
So it's not just about me being seen.
What if friendship isn't really a diet, like two separate people looking at each other? What if it's more like a single breathing perceptual event, where two consciousnesses emerge together, both profoundly changed by the interaction itself?
Wow, okay. Definitely something for you, the listener, to mull over, maybe explore on your own. Just letting that field remain alive, dynamic, and maybe gloriously unfinished.